So it's been a solid year now since I was regularly making videos, and some of you will know I've been working through a loss, and I think that grief just needed its own cycle around the sun before I could really get back to creative work. But I'm feeling ready now. I'm working my way back, and what I'm going to try to do for now is take on a few topics at a time while I catch up and get back in shape. Get back in shape to heat up these takes. The election! So many of you have said you can't wait to see what I'm going to say about the election, which is really flattering while also indicating you hate me and you want me to suffer. Look, the one small blessing of this time away has been I haven't had to speak professionally on this godforsaken election, and I'm not trying to break that streak with 2 weeks left. If you really want to know how my anguish has compared to yours, you can connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, because I've been screaming out to the heavens all year just like everybody else. But at this point, I just really want to focus on what happens next. Because in a couple of weeks, after we not only defeat but utterly rebuke and humiliate Donald Trump, that's when the real long-term work starts of positioning ourselves to hold the Clinton administration accountable while also figuring out what we're going to do with this segment of our American psyche that Trump's been tapping into all this time. Because this is not a new thing. That dark cloud of low information disgruntlement was there long before the Trump campaign, and it's going to be there long after he goes home to nurse his wounds or grope his wounds or whatever he's going to do. The Republican Party has been at this same crossroads for at least 10 years, where they can either evolve with the changing world or keep trying to squeeze more juice out of this good old Southern strategy base by exploiting their fears of a changing world. And the Trump campaign has mostly just been making the more brazen and vulgar version of the same choice the GOP has been making, of trying to milk that white working class base one more time by stirring up all their absolute worst instincts. And I mean, there's a lot about the Trump campaign that's been uniquely Trumpian. There's a lot that's been unprecedented. We're going to have a lot to study. But at least half the time, I feel like the Trump campaign's game has just been the Republican Party's game without all the polite veneer and the euphemisms. At its core, Donald Trump's voice is just the Republican Party's voice with the auto-tune turned off. And after Trump is done feeding false hopes to these people and he goes home, that constituency will still be here, coked up on resentment, waiting for the next Republican or Democrat who's going to give them another angry fix. So after Trump loses, and let's please make sure he loses, we're still going to have a lot of work to do. And I'm just looking forward to when we can all take a deep breath and a long hot shower and start figuring out what comes next. And while we're on the topic of appealing to your base with warmed over fear and loathing, Eminem also put a new song out last week.
Please hold the door while I scream more and more obscene horse manure till my throat is raw about all the reasons you're a whore. Listening to me's a boring chore, cause you could've swore I'd be more mature when I'm 44. Woo!
People. My people, are we so starved for multi-syllables that we are going to act like that is hot? I don't understand. When did Eminem turn into that kid in the cypher who thinks of 15 multis and just has to say all 15 of them? Please, Marshall Mathers, if you're watching this, just because you think of the words Robin Thicke and throbbing dick and you notice that they rhyme with each other does not mean you need to put them next to each other and say them out loud. Nobody needed to hear that, man. And while we're on that subject, how are you a middle-aged man still sounding like you're 13 up in the treehouse having the He-Man Woman Haters Club meeting? Like 20 years ago, there was shock value. Now it's just the worst combination of awful and boring. And I know he has a couple of lines about Trump and George Zimmerman in there, but you don't get any credit for being woke. I mean, if you want credit for being woke, then you're not woke by definition. But being woke only counts when the principles of wokeness are being applied consistently. You don't get credit for 20 seconds of dissing Donald Trump when the whole rest of the song sounds like Billy Bush on the Trump tape. And you don't get credit for the Zimmerman thing either. That doesn't make you an ally. If you're pro-black but anti-woman, then you're not woke. You're just sleeping with your eyes open. I don't even want to keep going on about this. Eminem, please grow up and do better. And one more thing, real quick, on a personal note. I got my start in media back in 1989 working for a reporter named Amy Goodman. Back then, she ran the local evening news on WBAI. Nowadays, she does a show named Democracy Now! And a few weeks ago, she got arrested for the crime of covering the historic protests in Standing Rock, North Dakota, where thousands of people, including Native Americans and indigenous people from all around, have been coming together to support the Standing Rock Sioux in their protest against the Dakota Access Pipeline. And the more that protest grows, the more the local authorities are trying every kind of abuse and harassment and oppression against the protesters and press who try to cover it. So they need as much support and attention as possible right now. And you can keep up on what's going on and see how to support by looking up the NoDAPL hashtag. And you can listen to Democracy Now!, but you should already be doing that, so do that.